sometimes the Democratic Party's attitude is take this and eat it because you gotta eat it, and people don't like that. They saw it with Biden, and now they're seeing it with Cuomo. Well, no, I don't have to eat that, and that's a legitimate, and it goes into this kind of generational thing too. I mean, it's just not ideological here. It's also generational.
In a major upset, Zoran Mandami, a 33-year-old state assemblyman and socialist, defeated former Governor Andrew Cuomo to win the Democratic nomination for mayor of New York City. Mandami ran a brilliant campaign, creative use of social media, tirelessly campaigning day and night, building a committed ground game, and focusing on the cost of living for average citizens. He even proposes the city take over grocery stores. But if he prevails in the fall, and there is a general election, his greatest gift may be to the Republicans. The Democrats, they will charge the party of socialists, of defunding the police, a position that Mandami actually backed away from, of the government taking over private business, and speaking favorably of the Palestinian intifada. But prior to the results, cable news was full of political analysts saying Mandami versus Cuomo is an indicator of which way the Democratic Party is heading. I think the reality actually is Cuomo was yesterday. He was associated with corruption and accused of sexual harassment. And I think just as the weakness of Joe Biden paved the way for Donald Trump, Cuomo was the perfect foil for Mandami.
Okay, well, let's start. Uh, yes, he said a lot of things, and he did try walk back, defund the police. Give him credit there. In terms of his idea of public-owned, city-owned grocery stores, all right. So I go to New York a lot, and y'all, come on, James, you don't really see it because you just go to Soho and the Upper East Side and the West Side, or Midtown or whatever. Okay, great. I do go through neighborhoods all over New York, and I can't tell you how many of these grocery stores they are. I think they call them bodegas. They're literally on every block. I don't even understand what he's talking about. Is he talking about maybe expanding food pantries? I don't know. And the one other thing he has said that he has not walked back is that he was for global intifada. Well, I don't think that's a good idea. But hopefully this guy, I hope, he obviously represents dissatisfaction, particularly among urban Democratic primary voters. Maybe he'll turn into be a very skilled candidate that can skillfully navigate some of his what I refer to as esoteric positions. I'd remind one thing: he won the primary. There's a general election coming. I think Andrew's sending off noises that he's not going to run the general election as an independent. So there might be a huge, I don't know the ballot access thing, but it might be a huge undertaking to have somewhat of a left of center independent candidate run for mayor. New York has some history of electing Republican mayors. Like I'll elect Curtis Sylvia for sure, but it's certainly possible they could. There's a lot of baseball left here. That's the only point I'm going to make. We got a lot of baseball to play.
Well, I certainly agree with that. And New York City, for all its attractions, is not America. When Rudy Giuliani was elected mayor, it didn't usher in a slew of pro-choice, law and order Republicans, nor did Michael Bloomberg, who actually was an excellent mayor, pretend a plethora of billionaires, or Eric Adams, been an invitation for a bunch of corrupt mayors. So I think to say that New York City election is an indicator of what's going to happen elsewhere is just off base. However, I do believe that Republicans will jump on this. Elise Stefanik, a woman who never lets truth get in the way of her demagoguery, said just last night that this proves that the the Democratic Party is now the party of communists. I mean, she's going to take the socialists and one up them. Well, he's not a communist, but he does have some issues that the Republicans will love to talk about.
Yeah, wish I had more of your attitude and less of mine. I have a chance today. I can't imagine that Fox is going to be talking about anything else. I
Mm.
can't imagine that any Democratic candidate anywhere in the country is going to be able to escape answering this question. I think the microphones will follow them around. I think that they're going to pound this home as hard as they possibly can. And it's also, honestly, given the what of course everybody's going to try to do. Let's look at our nominees in Virginia and New Jersey, and great. I mean, that has to be a big part of our answer. And depending on who comes in a general election, there's a lot of Democrats going to have a hard go at this. I think it's a potentially damaging event.
Uh, I do too, although I think that Mikey Sherrill and Abigail Spanberger will go a long way come November
Right. I do too.
in
I
mitigating that. But
hope so.
it
I've
was
certainly that's my answer when I'm asked about this, or look at New Jersey, look at Virginia.
right.
But just wait to see what the third party candidate is too. I don't
Right, and
question
it sure as hell shouldn't be Andrew Cuomo. He is spent. He is
that's
yesterday.
pretty clear.
He is
That,
discredited.
that's clear.
He spent a fortune, and he was soundly rejected. So, and I do think there is a. I mean, Joe Biden didn't have Andrew Cuomo's problems, and Andrew Cuomo wasn't as old as Joe Biden, but I think they were the same story. When you run a
And
weak
we just
candidate,
sometimes the Democratic Party's attitude is take this and eat it because you gotta eat it, and people don't like that. They saw it with Biden, and now they're seeing it with Cuomo. Well, no, I don't have to eat that,
right, right,
and that's a legitimate, and it goes into this kind of generational thing too. I mean, it's just not ideological here. It's also generational, and its effect is going to reverberate throughout the party.
yeah.
Can I tell you some chance it might be a positive thing? Yes, it could be, but could it
Well,
be not so positive? Yes, it could be.
and
I,
James, I agree with you that taking over the grocery stores in New York City is highly dubious. It's not realistic at all. The fact that he focused on the cost of living was smart. He did that with that. He did it with rent control. He did it with rent stabilization, and that is an issue that does transcend New York City, and that's of course what the Democrats did not do in 2024. But I'm look, I think this guy creates probably more problems than opportunities for the Democrats.
and what happens is that they're going to keep unearthing stuff. I mean, he's got to get an umbrella answer uh, for all of this. Harris had the same problem. Remember,
Yep. Yep.
Harris was for all this stuff that this I don't know what you call it,
2019, right?
that she was all for that. So let's see if Pope. And look, if this guy is skillful enough and he projects youth and energy and he give us something, but uh, I would recommend reading John Chait on global infanticide. It's not a good idea.
Okay.